Hey everyone, welcome to another Modern Deck Tech. Today, Bant Snow. You would have no idea, well, you have no idea how many people came to me about my Salt Ice Snow deck and said, hey, do you have any updates for this deck? I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are about this deck. I got private messages about it. A lot of people really want me to revisit my snow deck, my Salt Ice Snow deck. And I'm like, alright, well, I'm definitely revisiting it, and I think it makes sense to do it during the holiday season, you know, snow, Christmas, or whatever. And I said, well, instead of just doing Salt Ice Snow, let's do a bit more. So I actually have 3 snow decks lined up for the next 3 weeks. I'm going to be starting with Bant Snow today, followed by Salt Ice Snow, and then finally Teamer Snow. So today, Bant Snow. Let's get to it. But as usual, just before we do, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below. It really goes a long way in supporting this channel. That like button as well helps others find it, helps the YouTube algorithm. So I'd really appreciate your support today if you aren't subscribed. If you are, well, thank you already. So, the list. Here is the list for my Bant Snow deck. Plays kind of like a control game. I didn't want to go too heavy on control. I wanted to kind of enjoy creatures more than typical control lists. That's just the way I am in general. I don't like playing all-out control decks, so this is the list I ended up with. Noble Hierarch. I really tried to have all snow creatures, and there was a 1-mana snow creature that created, that generated mana, but it wasn't good enough. Didn't produce colors, which is what you really need in this deck. So I stuck with Noble Hierarch. The best decision I made. Exalted really goes a long way. One of the few, it's the only color combination where all 3 colors in Noble Hierarch produces are relevant to the deck, which is also always nice. Ascendant Spirit, believe it or not, can be a finisher. Finishes a lot of my decks. Once it becomes a 4/4, then a 6/6, and an 8/8, really becomes hard to deal with. And yeah, your opponents just kind of ignore it sometimes. It will happen often where you decide to pump it up and then they remove it then, so you waste your mana. But if you've played any other creature before that has those type of abilities, like even Hex Drinker, it's just something you have to expect. So keep that in mind. Try and do it end of your opponent's turn, so you get a Force of Negation. It's kind of protected if possible. But Ascendant Spirit really outperformed, really happy about it. ice-fang Coatl as well kind of acts like pseudo-removal. Helps slow down your aggressive opponents because they don't want to necessarily run into it until they have removal for it, which is always nice. Abominable Treefolk. I don't know if this deck would be possible without, well, at least not in this formulation, without this creature. This creature comes out, I think, the smallest I've ever had it is like a 4/4. Oftentimes 6/6, 7/7, 8/8. I think the max I've been at is a 10/10. Has trample, taps a creature when it comes into play, so you could, and it stays tapped for an entire turn cycle. So on your next turn, you can attack in. That creature will not be able to block you, and you could just deal insane amounts of damage. This deck in particular, because it plays on thin ice, just becomes brutal. Because on thin ice also counts as a snow permanent, so your Abominable Treefolk just gets bigger. And yeah, just awesome creature. It's in all 3 of my snow decks. Spoiler alert. You definitely want to be playing 4 of these. Everything else is kind of a mix of whatever stuff you would expect out of a Bant list. On thin ice, pretty good. Just be careful. I've already done a few times. I played EE on 1 because I want to take out a bunch of 1 CMC permanents, and I forgot thin ice is 1 CMC, and kind of lost like a loser there. But anyway, apart from that, the rest of the list is kind of standard. Don't need to explain too much of it. Same with the mana. I actually have the snow duels in Kaldheim in here. There are only 2 of, and I feel like it really helps out with making Abominable Treefolk bigger and just kind of rounds out the mana. So there we go. I'm conceding a bit, but again, there's only 2 of them, and I wouldn't play more. That's for sure. This is like max. The Synergies, well, I mean, I didn't know really what to say about the Synergies. It's a snow deck. The snow cards all synergize with each other for the most part. This is why I picked them. But these are really the core of the deck the way I see it. I already spoke about them. Take a look at them. These are creatures you definitely want. Plus on thin ice, which is great removal. And yeah, that's really the only thing I wanted to highlight here. And I don't think I need to labor that anymore. The matchups, things you really care about if you really want to play with this deck. So, in my experience recently with playing with this deck, I feel like it's at least even with more or less every deck out there. There's 3 matches coming up today. You're going to see it against some of those decks and some of those tier 1 decks as well. Favored against combo for sure. You're playing a lot of permission and just a lot of things that screw combo up. Relatively even against mid-range. They have removal, but so do you. And, you know, so it's kind of like 1 for 1 there. Aggro as well. You have creatures. You'd have relatively big creatures. And aggro is going to have a problem once they kind of like deplete their hand the first few turns. Control. You are Bant here. You do have Veil of Summer, which will definitely help into control mirrors. And, you know, again, you have your own permission spells. You have your own way to stop them. So, relatively even. Tron as well. Relatively even here. I feel like if I was playing Sultai, I would say this was favored. But since we lack nice black removal that could hit their planeswalkers, I keep it at even. It's pretty much the only reason. And for borderline magic decks, everything else, relatively even. Again, in my experience, I played a lot of games with this deck, and I didn't necessarily come up against any type of deck that you commonly see where I had nothing against it. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with Bant Snow. I think you should check it out. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this list, what you would play, what you would change, and stay tuned for the 3 matches coming up later today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy my content in general, please subscribe and hit that notification bell down below. Those few clicks go a really long way in helping others find my content and helps my channel grow. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook, share my content on social media. That also helps others find their way to my videos and spreads the word even further. And of course, if you like making money, check out my Patreon page. The link is in the description of this video. In particular, check out the Patreon Rewards program. Basically works like this. You give me your Patreon dollars every month. I buy and open up sealed product on this channel using those dollars. And I send you back that money at the end of every year in the form of rares and mythics. You get 1 non-bulk rare or mythic for every consecutive month you've been a patron, and every card is worth anywhere between $3 and $15. But I mean, even if you lowball it at an average of $5 per card, you're at the very least getting your money back, but odds are you're getting even more. There are a lot more details on my Patreon page, so check it out. Thanks, and have a good one.